All right. Houston, we have lunch, right? Is that the way it goes? So good morning, everyone. I'm John Wisniewski. I'm the Director of Automation here in Fort Worth, Reynolds Company headquarters, and want to welcome everybody. We have a very interesting topic today that we feel is very important to our end customers and for businesses as they reopen across the nation and return back to work. Our guest speaker is a gentleman by the name of Tony Lee. Tony comes with a number of years of experience in mobility, systems integration, automation, kiosks, and security. He has been working with us in various accounts on much larger scale in the mobility part. And now there's a common use for some of the products that are used in mobility, and he'll speak about that. So I'll get off the channel and we'll get Tony in. Thank you.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
You bet.
Okay, great. So this morning what we want to talk about is the subject that's on everyone's mind currently, which is how do we reopen our businesses safely? How do we handle things to where we're operating in a manner that tries to, mitigate some of the risk of the COVID-19 situation, but also instilling some faith and assurance in the mind of both customers and employees at businesses. This is me. Not the best picture. Sorry, I just grabbed something quickly. This is all my contact information. Should anyone have any additional questions that are of a technical nature? Here's our agenda. Here's some of the we're going to cover some of the challenges of reopening and how can we help. The InMetrics temperature reading kiosk, and then we're going to have a little bit of Q&A. So how do you reopen your business, which we have to reopen businesses because otherwise the economy is going to get even worse. But then you also have to reduce liability. And it's not just liability and what everyone thinks of the term liability with the legal side, but also in the eyes of your customers and in the eyes of your employees, where they see it as a personal liability. So there are all kinds of solutions out there. So we really have to consider the quality of the equipment that's being offered out there. Great question is, would you buy cheap hard hats? The answer obviously is no. And then one of the biggest challenges out of this whole thing is, how do you keep people moving efficiently? If you sit down and you look at some of the factories right now where they're renting a tent, a giant tent, and paying $5 to $6K a month for this giant tent, and then they have a host of people out there with scan guns and personal protective equipment that has to be replaced daily or more frequently, and the heat, and then you have a line of all of these employees just trying to get into a factory, for example. Those employees are being negotiated to be paid to stand in line and wait to be scanned. So this is costing these companies just a small fortune, and in these economic times, it can really become a serious challenge. So this is the InMetrics K16. How can it help? We're going to help provide a healthy and safe environment for your customers and your employees. You're able to configure it to set temperature thresholds, so a maximum upper range, a maximum bottom range, and then accurately measure everyone walking in front of it, their temperatures, in a quick, efficient manner. We got to keep people moving as normally as possible right now, because people moving through efficiently equals real dollars. We even have built in what we call a walk-by mode. So I'll be able to show you a video of that in a second. but literally we're able to scan people within a second or less per person walking in front of that camera. So it's truly instantaneous. So you can handle huge volumes of traffic with a single device really quickly. This is a little bit more about the K16 from a 50,000-foot view. First of all, I'll say this is developed by InHand Networks. We are the manufacturer. We're not an integrator. We're not a third-party company that's just slapping our name on something. This is truly ours. Soup to nuts, we own it. We've got an advanced infrared camera. This is the critical part. This is something that we have proven time and time again in the market that this is the best one out there for the money, and frankly, even for 5x the money. We've got the InPad 101S. It's our 10.1-inch industrial tablet PC. Whoops. This is the brains behind the whole thing. This device has been deployed over 15,000 times in the field for smart vending applications all over the world. Even more with the K16s that we've started to deploy all over the world. And, it's an industrially ruggedized, passively cooling Android platform. It can have other things built onto it if it needs to. And then, of course, we've got the InMetrics user interface software. Again, it's Android-based, and for the right enterprise API opportunities, we do have a full API available to where it can be tied in to access control systems, third-party databases for employee management, or whatever the case may be. So some of the applications we've looked at and we're working on are, let's say, for example, touchless time card punching with measuring someone's body temperature as part of it. The point is, it is fully expandable and very, very customizable. This is a little bit more on the camera itself. When we say industry-leading camera, we're not kidding. It's light years beyond the competition. Infrared measurement of resolution is a little different than visual spectrum resolution. Ours is because the wavelengths are different, and I don't want to bore you with that too much, but we can talk about that offline if you want to know more. 160 by 120 is an industry-leading high resolution on that. The competing products are 32 by 32. What's that look like? The 32 by 32 is a blobby thermal image. It looks like the 1986 movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You need something more accurate, more modern, more able to discern actual temperature range, an actual temperature on a specific point of the body, as opposed to just a temperature that is an approximation. We're sampling this at 50 frames per second. That means we're almost at 4K video sampling rates. 4K is at 60 frames per second. Most of the competition is at 1 frame per second. It's just a photograph that then gets analyzed. And we're detecting in less than a second. We can vary the distance from 2.5 to 5 feet. I've got customers out there using our system. The Reynolds reps that have used our system, they found it even works out to 9 and 12 feet. So really, you've got an ability to calibrate it and set that spot on the floor for people to walk across or step up to based on what fits for the business. You don't have to make your business fit to the device. And this is the really big one, automatic calibration. We actually have some patented AI technology on board this thing. There's an AI controller. When you boot it up, it takes about 10 to 15 seconds for the device to turn on and actually launch everything and be ready to scan. About 2 minutes later, it has auto-calibrated itself, and it'll go from plus or minus 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit to plus or minus 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit. The camera is always watching the environment around it, sampling the temperature in the environment around it, and learning from it so it gets really dialed in. Why is this important? All of the competing products have to be recalibrated, and pretty frequently, every few hours. That means more man hours spent on tending to a device as opposed to just doing their normal jobs and trying to restore some kind of normalcy in the business. We also don't require any kind of special background or backdrop or contrast or anything else like that. This is turn it on, it's ready to go. It's simple and it's really easy. So one of the biggest things when we've gone around and we've sampled several of the devices from the competition, we've noticed they never show the infrared image or any video, and we're just trying to wonder why. It's because of the resolution. You can see here we're actually identifying the eyeballs separately from the forehead, separately from the neck, the mouth, the cheeks. Why is that important? We're actually able to pick up those different temperature values. Skin temperature is always going to be cooler than core body temperature, and it's generally accepted that core body temperature is where you're able to determine if you've got a biological situation going on. Fevers from a core body temperature are more important than a skin body temperature heat reading. You go to Texas right now, you stand outside for 10 minutes, your skin's going to get hot. We're looking at the tear ducts, the eyeballs, and other parts of the body that don't heat up and cool down at the same rate that that you get with a skin temperature. We're using best-in-breed hardware here. We've got an ARM Cortex A53 octa-core 1.8 gigahertz processor. That thing is a computational monster. Means we're able to act. That's how we're able to process things so quickly and do that high sampling rate. It's a 10.1-inch touchscreen. It's also got a built-in 3D camera, which I'll show you some cool stuff about that here in a little bit. It also has built-in Wi-Fi. That's how you get your connectivity, and it is an industrial fanless design with a really wide temperature operating range. 15 Fahrenheit to 122 Fahrenheit. So it's going to be able to withstand the harsh operating environments that it could possibly be put into, particularly on factory floors where it may or may not be air conditioned. Connectivity. If you need to connect it to something besides your local Wi-Fi LAN, you're able to drag and drop this in with one of our cellular routers that's got onboard Wi-Fi and instantaneously set up shop anywhere you need to. It is instant on-demand connectivity. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit about the walk-by mode, the two modes that we use. This is the walk-by mode.
Please proceed. Please proceed. Please proceed.
So you can see how fast these folks walked by, and it was able to sample them all. You can imagine just using something like that so that you can grab on and figure out, okay, we're at let's say a movie theater, or we're at a restaurant, or some location where you're not trying to identify who the person is, which I'll get to that in a little bit as well, but you just need to be able to do a quick once over, not slow things down, and identify, yep, they're okay, let them go through. Now, this is the one-by-one mode. This is a little different model.
Please proceed.
What you can find is we've got real instantaneous reading here. So I'm going to click on this, and we can watch another little quick video.
Please proceed. Please wait for assistance.
Now, what we do is we actually say, please wait for assistance, because we don't want to scare everybody. There may be a misread due to someone's temperature being off from standing outside in direct sunlight for an extended period of time. Now, actually, this 97.5, in order to give the example, this is Annie. She's in our marketing department. She wasn't sick, so we had to drop the temperature threshold down in order to get a positive to trigger that notification. So we've got a little bit of system use capability here as well for your on-site management. You're able to go in and browse records of the past week. You can click a button that says all days, or you've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you can also drill down based on all of the readings or your normal readings or just your over temperature readings. You can also monitor it from another room. So if you've got a security hut or you've got a reception desk and you're worried about your receptionist getting exposed or your security guard getting exposed to somebody who might cough or sneeze on them or whatever, before you really know what this person's health status is, we've built in a solution here so that it can actually stream over Wi-Fi. It's very similar to Google Chromecast, if you're familiar with that. So it's a Wi-Fi connection that it's got to be on the same LAN, but it's going to broadcast back from the tablet to a PC, and so you can see this. And you can actually have a desktop PC that's showing multiple of these tablets, so not just one. And then coming really soon, we literally, like in a week or two from now, we're going to release facial recognition and mask detection. With all of the rules that are coming down from the different businesses and from the different states about requiring or strongly recommending, depending on how they word it, that people wear masks in these public places, this device will identify if the person who's coming through is wearing a mask and remind them, you're not wearing a mask. And once they put on a mask, it identifies that they're wearing a mask and then allows them through with the logic that we built into it. Facial recognition, that's going to be for applications more in the business side where you need to be able to not just check an employee's temperature, but verify, hey, this is Bob and this is what his temperature is. Could be for some of them, we're going to use it for a time clock, for a touch-free time clock connection there. But we're also going to use it for the, whoops, Bob just ran a fever, so let's send an email to a group email list that includes HR and management so that we can go back and figure out when Bob, where Bob was at different parts inside of the building. Because we recommend you don't just scan when they come into the building, we recommend that you scan when they leave the building, because you're getting two different samples at that point, two different snapshots in time where someone could start becoming symptomatic. And so it does give you that contact tracing ability inside your own company. You know, go back and talk to the 4 or 5 people around Bob's cube, for example. Here's a little more on the operational management. Obviously, I just mentioned about notification by email. We can do some cloud services. We're doing those on more of a custom integration side, so we need to talk about those on a case-by-case basis. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we've got an Android-based API, so we've got full support to expand to and integrate to third-party systems, whatever those may be. So this is a screenshot right here also that'll show an example. Here's an email that was sent out based on a over temperature notification. It says what the device ID is, alarm information, so it was definitely a fever, and the state of the device, and the time and date. And then obviously it's got a PNG file. I couldn't fit it in all at the same time, but it's actually a picture of the person themselves. So you know, okay, whoops, it was Fred that blew a fever this morning. The K16 is very plug and play. This is a straightforward, easy, no question about it, simple solution to build in to your existing business. It comes out of the box, you plug it into the wall, and it's ready to do work. There's nothing complicated about it. We do have a standard desktop stand. We also have options for a wall mount or a floor mount stand as well. We do request that it's indoor use only for this reason exclusively. It is a sensitive camera. We're concerned about dust, where you have wind blow dust against the lens of the camera, and that might create some issues. Or, direct sunlight producing a lot of heat and oddities, it might create some kind of issues. With this being said, I do have customers that are putting these inside of a tent, under a tent or an awning, to where it's slightly more protected, where they're trying to keep potentially sick people out of the building, but they want to streamline things as well. Some of the applications. These are different businesses that types of businesses we've identified where it would make sense and they could really truly use this. And I know a number of these fall under the Reynolds umbrella. Office buildings, movie theaters, factories and warehouses. There are actually Reynolds reps who are actively attacking and actively selling this product, and they've closed some business. W.C. Nix closed a deal with Peterbilt. Tom Bachonsky's closed some stuff too, and he's working on a few other deals as well. There are projects out there in the works. This is real and it's happening. This isn't just cool ideas and theory here. I mean, this is something that is a great opportunity to go sell technology to your customers when they need it. Support and service. We actually carry a 1-year warranty on it. Like I said, we do have customizable options, and this is backed on the 19 years of IoT expertise from InHand Networks. Inside of that, that's 19 years as a company existing. When you get into the combined people experience, you're in the hundreds of years of IoT experience. And we've done a little bit of it all. We're the third largest industrial cellular router company in the world by volume. And that's by Berg Insight for the 2018 numbers that were released in 2019. We grew last year by 40%, so we believe that we have overtaken the second spot. Again, we've been doing this for almost 20 years. We've been doing this for 19 years. IoT, for folks who aren't familiar, that's a really vague terminology. It means Internet of Things. So basically, it's providing connectivity in a wireless environment to gizmos to the cloud, so that it could be a PLC, it could be an HMI, it could be a pump controller, it could be, in our case here, a temperature scanner, it could be a wireless cellular router, it could be all kinds of different things. And then this is a trajectory and showing some of our major customers along the way. We are a Rockwell Encompass partner. We work with GE Healthcare. We work with a lot of names that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Here's some more names I'm sure you guys are familiar with as well. Any questions?
You can type in a question in the Q&A panel or chat, or if you raise your hand, we can unmute your line. And if you'd like to ask a question live to Tony, if you've got a question in already.
And if you could bear with me, I'm going to stop sharing so I can actually see that part of the screen, folks.
Well,
Doesn't look like we have any.
yeah, no questions at the moment. So,
well, if you think of something in the interim, I think pretty much everyone's got my contact info.
Sure, well, we can make it share. There's a few questions coming in, so one
Okay,
around
great.
how easy it is to make configuration changes, and does it work with Active Directory? Those are two that just popped up.
As far as making configurations, changes into the device, that's something simple. That you log in, you click the icon in the top left corner, the InHand icon 6 times. You type in your password, and then you're able to scroll through the different screens and actually make whatever changes. And those changes can be changing an email address, setting a temperature range, configuring the I/O that's built in. So literally anything. Now, I did mention we do have an I/O on board. It's a digital output. So you're actually able to control, let's say, a door, or actuate a turnstile, or turn on a light. Let's say, for example, you have people walking through turnstiles. You may want to control if they can push through the turnstile, or you may want to control something so that you've got the ability to turn on a red light where, whoops, we need someone to come over and check this person out more closely. As far as the working with Active Directory, what do you have in mind, Brandon? I'm kind of curious.
Most likely, I would think that Brandon's, I guess, tying in you're talking about the personnel management aspect of it.
Yeah, I actually, Brandon, I'd like to take that one offline with you, with one of our technical people. I don't know the answer. I think it would work pretty well. More than likely, it would involve tying into our API to push that data across, but I'd like to have a follow-up discussion with you if you wouldn't mind. This sounds interesting. I also see a message from Parag. As far as complying to US FDA norms, there are very little standards that have been put out by the FDA on the subject. Their main thing is requesting a certain level of accuracy, and we do comply with that level of accuracy. We exceed that level of accuracy. We do not require a black body on site to verify the calibration. That AI controller makes it something that's very unique in the world. It's something that is, to be blunt, there's just nothing else quite like it. And so right now, with everything that's going on, we are just sitting there in a unique position in the market. Any other questions, ideas, snide remarks?
That's Mike's department. There's snide remarks. Oh, I'll say that's probably it at the moment, Tony. I think we're coming up to the end of our half hour too. So
fantastic.
Yep.
Well,
so,
I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to present this to you. Brandon, Parag, anyone else, I would really appreciate it if you could reach out to me. Let's have a conversation on this. I'd like to get your opinions on some of these integration projects that you have in mind, and see where we might be able to take this.
Thank you, Tony. This is John Wisniewski. Certainly enlightening, and I love the fact that you actually mentioned the various cases that we've actually engaged with customers and they've purchased it and believe in it. You know, I know you didn't mention this one, it was part of the presentation, but one of our guys is hitting a major movie theater. And, you know,
I didn't know how secret squirrel that one was, so I kind of
Yeah, and
mentioned.
again, I'm not mentioning the name of the theater or the individual, but, it goes to show that, certainly getting out of the mainstream, and if you have somebody that in an industry, whether it be restaurant related or, even for the folks in Louisiana, I'm sure there's people that are getting on boats, fishing boats, that sometimes you'd love to be able to know who's on board and who may be at risk. That may be an option. Think about that. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I really, really appreciate all of your time. And like I said, anything comes up, you have a aha moment after the fact, reach out. Uh, Everyone here knows how to get in touch with me one way or another. I want to have a conversation.